Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author and robot, and today I'm going to talk about preparedness. Author preparedness, because let's be frank. Aside from probably always having something readable within arm's distance and or writable within arm's distance, probably, there are other ways that authors need to be prepared. Specifically for when you've got an item launched. That is, I don't know why I'm so awkward today, but that's specifically when you have a book out there, then what do you do? How do you freaking prepare for when you've got a book out, like talking to people? So that's what I'm going to talk about today, and I'm specifically going to be bringing up Pitch Fit because we're doing the second Pitch Fit on the channel here at the end of the month. But before we get started, number one, check out the Lamont down below for October's prompt if you'd like to be featured on this channel. I'm going to skip my usual number 2 and number 3. If you enjoy what I do on this channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And also, if there are any topics in writing or things that you would like me to opine about in this general facility, let me know, and I will do the best that I can to give you the information that I have or the tips and tricks that I use or anything that I know. I'm not saying that I know everything. I'm not even saying I do anything the right way. In fact, I probably do a lot of things, most things the wrong way, but I try to give you the best answers that I can, and specifically the advice that I use or have received and tried, and I'll let you know if I don't use it, but I've heard it before. So if there's anything like that, I like to use this platform to try to help other writers or to help readers or to just help people that love storytelling. So with that said, let's get into it. Author preparedness. What do you do when readers come a-knocking? Now, I know a lot of authors, especially indie authors, your heart, you get this picture in your head, get it? Your heart just starts palpitating when you think of the phrase, hey, what are you working on? Can I read it somewhere? It's like, oh crap, somebody wants to see into my soul, and maybe, just maybe, they want to pay me to see into my soul. Oh gosh, what if they hate everything that I do? What if they see something in here that freaks them out? What if they read my story inspired by Jeffrey Dahmer? They're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I don't know. I read it too, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Okay, so it's a scary thing. But more scary than, hey, can I read your book is, hey, what is your book about? Yeah. Nobody knows how to pitch their book for the longest time, at least in the shortest amount of time. How do you actually tell somebody what your book is about in the smallest amount of time to get their wickets wet? So author preparedness. I'm bringing this up specifically at this point because number one, we're doing the second Pitch Fit on the channel here, which is where I have a form that I've been putting down in the description below, where if you're a creative, you can put your creative project in there. You pitch it to me, basically. I put all of the information in there for your pitches, and you pitch it to me. And then once a quarter, that's going to be 3 times a year, hopefully, I'll go through that and I will grab out some of those projects and then I will pitch them on this channel. And but what I mean by pitches, I'm going to tell other people about the projects. Now, I know it's really hard for us to talk about our own stuff, and then it's also hard to find the venues for us to talk about our own projects. So that is the point of Pitch Fit. It just is meant to be an opportunity to basically have, like, the channels on YouTube here. You know the channels on YouTube where they take like the commercials or the trailers for all of the movies coming out in like the next month or the next season or whatever, and then they just here and you can watch them one after another and see if you're interested in any. That's kind of what Pitch Fit is for, but for indie and creative projects to hopefully give opportunity for new talent to be found, because it's so hard and so impossible to get your stuff to stand out in the wave of other things. So, the first hump is actually looking for opportunities in order to pitch your work. And then the second is getting chosen to have it out there if you're not paying for ads. So hopefully that's what Pitch Fit offers to authors and to creatives that are looking to find people looking for their content. How does this relate back to preparing for when readers come a-knocking? Well, author preparedness. So like the first thing that you need to do when readers come a-knocking, the first preparations that you need to make is knowing how to talk about your book in the most efficient way possible. This means knowing what your genres are. Not like, it's sort of this genre or it's sort of that genre. It's by market terms. It really helps you to sell a book to somebody, to go, hey, and I mean sell an interest. It doesn't even have to mean physically sell a book, but to pique the interest is to drop something recognizable into that person's lap. If you go, well, it's sort of like, it's not really romance, but it's not really fantasy, but it has these elements in it, but it's also got dinosaurs, like, you have a harder time. Whereas if you go, so Kung Fury is a satire on 70s, 80s Kung Fu flicks, and there's time travel in Triceratops. Satire Kung Fu flick. Like, that's where you're gonna go first. Satire sci-fi Kung Fu flick. And there's Hitler. Like, Hitler and dinosaurs. What more do you want? So that's kind of how you do it, is you grab the key elements of whatever your story is in order to pique the interest. And specifically, those elements that I just mentioned for Kung Fury, if they interest you, if that genre interests you, you're probably going to go look at it. If it's not something that interests you, then even just knowing those couple of elements, it's not gonna matter. It may matter if it's free. So knowing how to identify your genres or your key elements in your book will help to tickle the pickle of somebody that doesn't know what it is that you do or who you are or what your voice is like. You also need to know how to quickly and efficiently define your story. 1 sentence, 2 sentences max. And I think this is the hardest thing that stops everybody. I'd say this, but genres are apparently very, very hard too, because people are like, I can't drop my thing in a genre because I feel like it doesn't quite fit the genre because it's this other thing. And it's genres and quickly describing your plot are 2 of the hardest things that I think authors have to learn how to do. And then when they figure it out, they're like, oh, this is how you do it. But it does take practice, and it can be discouraging until you figure out how to do it. I'm even still figuring out how to do it. My quickest pitch for Dead End Drive is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None meets the 1985 Clue, because it gives you the vibe, and especially like the 12 character structure, but it doesn't tell you a lot about the plot itself. Probably death is involved, a lot of death. If I had to do that without making comp titles, it would probably be something like dark comedy. It's a satirical horror about a bunch of terrible people in a house killing each other over an inheritance during a storm. That's the quickest way to do it. Imagine the little blurb on the TV Guide channel or on Netflix if you just had and you had 1 sentence to just quickly describe whatever it is. Not necessarily accurate, but it is also not inaccurate. With Bleed More, Body More, my forthcoming novel coming out in at the end of next month, would be something like, I have the hardest time with this one. Oh my gosh. A Baltimore mechanic Baltimore mechanic finds a city of ghosts while looking for her missing friend. That's pretty much it. And you just condense it as small as you can. And then obviously you say your genres. That one is either urban fantasy or supernatural thriller. As I look into the further books of that series, I'm thinking it's going to lean more into urban fantasy that has some horror elements in it. But I think it definitely leans more into the urban fantasy realm. And with my other forthcoming novel that's going to be coming out in May, it would be something like Ukrainian YouTuber is abducted by the United States government in a plot to start a proxy war. Like, that one is much longer, but still. And that one's a satirical thriller. So being able to quickly condense and say what are the most interesting aspects of the story that define what it is, pretty much like the central idea around it. None of those tell you the complexities of the story. I would specifically say that Bleed More, Body More does not get into any of the details. And it would be just, I have to put in she finds a ghost town, because if it was Baltimore mechanic seeks out missing friend, you're going to miss one of the huge major elements in the plot. So you're finding these key things that stand out in what is the journey of the character, what is a key setting of the story. And that is what's going to tickle the pickle, because somebody who wants a straight thriller may not be as interested if they find a ghost town, as opposed to somebody who's looking for flicks with ghosts or stories with ghosts. If you say, hey, there are ghosts in this, they might be like, ooh, give me that. So finding any specific hooks, any specific vibes that you can compare your thing to. Again, with Bleed More, Body More, I would mention mythologies or folklore, reapers, because I use the Bull Raven and I use Karen, and I use the river Styx. And so I would bring that kind of stuff up if I needed more information that goes, hey, what is in this book? So preparedness means being able to summarize your story as quickly as possible. And it is very difficult, but we all know that it's coming when we're writers, because you go to any conference, you go out, not even to a conference, you just go out to the world and you tell the world, hey, I'm a writer. And they go, oh, what's your book about? And you're like, my heart just stopped. I can't even talk. Summarize it down, boil it down to the lowest common denominator, and then you can start building it up again if they ask for more details, because it's only getting your foot in the door with that pitch that needs to be short and slip. Because once you've gotten their attention, you can slowly be introducing more information to get their feedback on, the conversation started. Once they're invested, if they're going, oh, I'm interested in hearing about this mechanic in this ghost town. Really, tell me more. The next thing that you need in order to be prepared for when readers start coming knocking, and that is they've come up to you. They said, hey, you're a writer. Hey, I would love to read what you're working on. What are you working on, by the way? Have your title also. Oh my gosh, have your title ready. Whatever your title is, if you're pitching your book to be read because it's on the market, have your title, have your genre, have your quick pitch. Also, be fairly confident but humble, okay? So I would say one of the least successful tactics, or one of the tactics I dislike the most when I'm on social media, or I should say one of the least persuasive tactics for getting me to read your stuff when I'm on social media, is an author saying that their own work sucks. I hated this. I like to skip past this stuff. It's one thing if you're like, well, this is really hard and I'm working through this section right now and it's very difficult. That's completely different, especially if it's in a draft. I understand I'm slogging through a draft right now, but I'm very excited for where I can see the story going. It's just working through the draft so that I can polish it. That's a completely different situation than actively posting about works that you've already got published and going, this isn't that great, or you got to read like the first 70,000 words in order to get to the good part. Excuse me. You're not proud of like what you've put out there? You don't have to be proud of everything. I listen to Dead End Drive right now. Sometimes when it comes onto my music player and I'm like, oh, I could edit that. I would change that. I would change that. But that doesn't make me think the story is any less. I think it's a fun story. So finding that middle ground between confidence and humility and not crapping on your own work. If you don't think it's worth your time, why would anybody else think it's worth your time? And the confidence, the delivery, the confidence is part of the delivery, which I highly recommend acting classes, taking a beginning acting class, doing some improv troupe, something to get you in front of people and presenting to practice acting or making a fool of yourself or just presenting. I think acting is much better than speech writing because you're probably going to do sillier things, but acting classes are typically fairly safe to try different things at and make a fool of yourself as opposed to the formality of a speech class. Also, there's a focus on inflection and delivery in acting classes that I'm not sure is quite the same in speech delivery classes. Anyway, confidence, humility. Now, the first hard jump to get over is actually getting somebody interested in your book. But say that you pitch it successfully, somebody is like, yes, I grabbed it, I'm into this, or I like this genre. If we look at like Meg Latour, she was selling her thing as steampunk, and a lot of people were going for the steampunk pirate, very invested in that, and they were into the styling. Even if somebody is into your style of writing or your genre, be prepared that they won't like your story itself. Or be prepared that they will not like your writing itself or the genre that you're writing. Like with Dead End Drive, I specifically expect a lot of people to be like, no, that's not my thing, because it's kind of a niche project. I knew that going in. It was a niche project. So just be prepared that a lot of people just may not be interested in what you're doing. And hey, that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just, you're going to pitch me an epic fantasy, I'm probably going to be like, But if they do bite, also be prepared for whatever response you may get. That is the scariest part of once somebody agrees to look at your book is, will they like it or won't they like it? And what will they say about it? And you have no control over that, which is what I think stops a lot of indies from actually advertising their books is, oh, now I have one on the market and like I want the success, but I don't want to see what people actually have to say because it's scary and it hurts. I'm not even an emotional person. I'm a robot, right? But I can still feel like a failure by receiving enough negativity that I go, what am I doing with my life? That just, it happens. It's what everybody goes through. And you have to learn to wash it off and know that responses to your books are not personal. If somebody really likes your book, it's not because you're a goddess. And if somebody doesn't like your book, it's not because you're a hellspawn. If somebody thinks you're a hellspawn, it might want to look in your personal life. The other thing is taking in the actual readers' responses. Now, the importance in talking about responding to reviewers is because the way that you respond to book reviews, if you respond to book reviews, can ruin your career. Because yikes, bro. Yikes. If when it goes bad, it can go bad. And you can find all sorts of stories about it going bad. If you don't think that you can stomach or emotionally cope with book reviews, don't read them. Don't ever read them. The other thing to really know, star ratings are weird and they don't make any sense. So don't give your self-worth whatever your star rating is, your star average is, none of it. If you really want to see how people are responding, then you read the reviews, but know that the reviews are that person's individual response, and it's got nothing to do with you. It has to do with their taste, whether they like your story or not. And maybe you'll find objective reasons in there why somebody didn't like the book, but it was still your decision on how you wrote it, who you were appealing to, and if that person was in the audience you were trying to appeal to. And don't be a dick. Like, that's the biggest thing, is in taking in reader responses, in being prepared for readers to come knocking, you got to be prepared for reader responses. And you got to be prepared to not be a dick. And take this as you will, because I am not a social media guru. In fact, people scare me. I have a very difficult time talking to people in the wild, because I don't know how to relate to people very well. Robot problems, right? The important thing is, when you do, you should probably have a social media landing page somewhere, be it Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or somewhere, so that if readers go, hey, I really liked your book, I would like to, to follow you somewhere, to connect with you, to see what you're up to, you can send them somewhere. So be it TikTok or Instagram or all of them or Minds. Do that. Have a page that is for your readers to come and follow you, and know what kind of content readers are looking for. They're looking to connect with you or the persona that you created for your story, and know that if you give that social media and you break the persona that you promised to them, that can also affect the relationship that the reader has with the author. So that's something to be prepared for. Also be prepared for, if you send somebody to your social media, like a new fan, that they're going to look through your social media posts and they may not like what they find. And that's also why you got to be careful about how you are acting in response to negative reviews. Personally, I'm still learning the ropes of what's appropriate and not appropriate on social media, but I always want to be grateful and let readers know that I'm grateful when they take a chance reading my work, because they didn't have to use their time on my book. They didn't have to use their time getting to know me or what I like to do, or how I see the world, or my ridiculous exaggerations of everything that I see and how I see the world, which is pretty ridiculous. The more you read me, the more that you'll see just how extreme everything that happens in my brain works. Like, I don't know where it's fun for the readers or where it's not fun for the readers to just say, hey, thanks for reading this, because I'm socially anxious and I don't know how to interact with people, and I get very scared interacting with people because I don't know the line. And even just saying, hey, thank you for looking at this, I don't know if that makes somebody uncomfortable, and so I get scared. And I'm still learning that kind of stuff. In summary, being prepared for when readers come knocking means knowing how to quickly and efficiently describe your work in progress and or your book that you've got for sale, or your most important book. Finally, have a social media landing page so people can come and find you. It can be even your Goodreads page, but have landing pages for people to go so that they can look for you, look for your work, follow what you're doing if they want to see more, any of that kind of stuff. It gives them a way to connect to the author, and a lot of people really love connecting to the author, getting to know the author. So behave yourself and don't trash talk people. That's all I'm going to say. We're all here because we like reading books, right? Right? To finish it off, I'm going to share something that is very helpful for indie authors especially, and can help you out if you're on a budget but you want to read more indie books. That is what is being called the Library Initiative, and this is where you can actually order indie books to be in your library. Now, there is specifically one qualification that I do know of, and that is that your book has to be published through Ingram Sparks, because Ingram Sparks is connected to Lightning Source, and Lightning Source is the catalog that libraries use to order books. Now, if an indie book is published through Lightning Source, that means that you can go to your library and request the book, and the library should be able to purchase the book and start carrying the book. Now, if you published through KDP only, if you are Amazon exclusive only, you are not going to be able to find that book in Lightning Source, because Amazon does not have a relationship with Lightning Source, and so the books that are published strictly through them are not listed in library catalogs, all right? Every local library has their own methods for how you request books. My local library has a web page specifically, and I contacted the library themselves to say, hey, how do I request books? And so they gave me that, and usually you need the name of the book, the author of the book. Sometimes they'll ask for the ISBN, but they don't always ask for the ISBN, and that's pretty much it. Then they'll let you know when they get the book in. Your library might have other requests or requirements in order to purchase the book. I know that my local library said that the book has to have a certain number of actual reviews on it in order to prove that it's not just like a freshly done book that has no reviewers and no anything, and you can't even prove that it was read by anybody. All of that said, this is all part of that author preparedness. Be prepared for people to ask if they can get your book, where they can get your book, how they can get your book, and if your book would be available at a library. That's another way to be prepared. And then how to make it so your book is available at the library would also be considered that way. So with all of that said, I mean, this video is kind of scattered, but I hope that it's helpful. I hope that it's interesting, and I hope that it prepares you, the author, for when readers come on. If you have any questions about the subject, let me know in the comments down below, and I will try my best to answer with whatever information I can. I am not the greatest at creating outlines. That's why I suck at research papers. With all of that said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy what I do here, please hit the like button, share it, subscribe for more, and have a great weekend. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow on our Loin Stream's first ever Battle of the Bulge. It's going to be so good. Okay. Have a great weekend, guys. Don't die.
The only people who should come are those who want to meet their monsters.
If this is what Agatha wants, I don't know how we can even dispute it.
I change lives, baby.
And I and them. Sweetheart, no bargains hold. Only fools know restraint.
Only losers lose!
I've been under the knife so many times, I'm practically immune to it.
If your scissors are dull, may I recommend sharpening them with leather?
I think I hit you.
Mimol says I must have a guardian angel.
To enter the ring but abstain from playing is suicidal. Your virtue makes you nothing but a liability.
You're gonna die. You're gonna die. You're gonna die.